What's up, gang? Welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mashazde. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now, listen, the Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I say, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mashazde. I'm flying solo, and today we're going to be talking about the 10-second rule. So what's the 10-second rule? 10-second rule is kind of a term that I came up with probably about a year ago, where I started realizing that all we have is the 10 seconds, what's happening at this moment, this 10-second intervals, and life is really these 10-second intervals that we live within 10 seconds at a time. And the reason I say that is that, I found myself being in a constant state of reflecting on the past or living in the future. When I had, kind of some moments to breathe, I would do that. And then realizing that the best moments of life are when you're in the present moment now. I'm not saying anything that's probably mind blowing there, but, there's a quote that I had heard, I wrote it down, which is, if all you have is the current moment, then you cannot be deprived of your past. Meaning that the past has already happened, the future is not uncertain, and here we are, humans, in this constant state of reflecting on the past, worried about things that haven't happened yet, dreaming about things that we hope are going to happen, which I'm actually cool with the dreaming, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, this concept of giving yourself the gift of dreaming. Right. But viewing it as a morsel of goodness, giving yourself that gift of dreaming is different than fantasizing that if and when something happens, I will be X, I will be happy, I will be worthy, and then, fighting for that future state, right, deprives you of the current moment. And again, if all I have is the current moment, then I am deprived of my past, right? Then I'm deprived of your past. I cannot be deprived of my past, if all I have is the current moment, because my past it's already happened. I can't go ahead and change that. So I came up with the concept of the 10-second rule, which is, hey, I'm just here right now, living in this 10-second moment. What can I do to make it where I'm engaged? And God help us with, the state of technology stealing our attention. I was just doing it this morning with my son was sitting there eating, and I was paying attention to something on my calendar as opposed to just sitting there hanging out with him for the moment. But if you think of the greatest moments of your life, right, even if it's something where you're celebrating a win, it's not the actual win itself. It's being present in the moment when you did something really hard, right? That the doing the hard part, right? Enjoying that struggle, embracing that struggle in that moment to accomplish. There's this moment where you're proud of yourself, right? If you ever felt that before, the sense of pride, man, I did that. Or let's say you've helped a kid or a friend or a loved one, you've worked with them for months and months and, helped them with their math or helped them with their sport. And then you see them get it. There's this moment where you're it feels good, right? And this is what I'm talking about, these 10-second moments or these intervals. A lot of times I think we start to give a lot of value to this future state. When my kid becomes X, then I will be satisfied. Or when I have Y amount of money in the bank, then my life will be good. Or when I go on this trip, things are going to be amazing. And I'm not against having something to look forward to. I'm against living for that moment only, and not paying attention to the present moment. So I'll give an example of, every year my wife and I, we throw 2 parties a year. We do a Persian New Year party and we do a Day of the Dead party. So we have a Day of the Dead party coming up in a couple weeks here. And, I look forward to those parties. They're fun. I'm a person that's pretty busy with the new business we're building, and it sucks up almost 95% of my bandwidth. And because I'm working really hard at that, I'm pretty tired. So, I'm less social right now, which I don't love, but I'm in the season of building something new, which is okay. That said, I plan those parties. Actually, this is like design by design, because I know it's a way for me to get people together who I haven't seen in a while and to be engaged with them. I look forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. But I look at the party planning as something that's enjoyable for me. Reaching out to people, seeing if they're still able to come, RSVPing, sitting down with my wife, planning out the specifics, designing the menu, figuring out the bar, figuring out the entertainment, doing all these cool little things, imagining the future when people are going to be there and the fun stuff we're going to be doing, but not living just for that moment, like actually enjoying the process of putting the thing together so that when it happens, there's a sense of satisfaction of, hey, we accomplished something cool, created this environment, this vessel for people to come in and enjoy each other's company, make new friends. For me, my wife and I to, get to hang out with people we haven't seen that much, or engage with people, even if just for a few moments. Again, these 10-second moments. And then afterwards, there's the come down. It's like, that was a great party, right? Realizing that those parties, those moments, for me, I'm a high extrovert. Like, I get those 10 seconds at a time of engaging with people, right? And that's like when I'm in super high flow state, me personally. Even right now, doing this podcast, I get to be improvisational. I get to teach. I get to be creative, and I get to be in the moment, right? And so those are extreme versions of living in the moment. But when we start thinking about like your best moments, it comes in these 10-second moments. And if all you have is in the moment, like when you start to think like, man, you could be gone tomorrow. Something could happen today, you'd be gone tomorrow. Then all you really have is the present moment. I don't think there's anything wrong with planning for an eventual future. I think it's kind of fun, right? Knowing that some future version of that probably isn't going to happen. If it does, it'll be some version of it, but it's not going to be what you imagine it exactly. And appreciating that, knowing that, okay, well, all I have is right now. So if all you have is right now, I think it's really important to start to take stock of how are you treating yourself and how are you enjoying the now. And if the answer is, I don't like my present moment, I'm having conflict with my loved one, I'm getting into altercations with people, I'm stressing about this thing I don't have control over, I'm worried about, X, Y, and Z. Like, and as I'm describing this, many listeners, you might be thinking like, man, that happens to me all the time. Like, I would just sit there and get like sucked into like what's not going right in my life, or this person I'm comparing myself against, or if and when X, Y, Z happens, then I will feel ABC. What I've learned is that is all like a figment of my imagination. And if I take a step back and ask myself a really simple question of like, well, if all I have is the present moment, what am I doing to be grateful during that time? So I'll give an example of getting into altercations with maybe a coworker or a loved one. Like, why am I doing that? Am I doing that because I want to be right? Because I might be ruminating on that before I had that conversation, afterwards thinking like, why did they treat me that way? And when we start to look at that, it's like, this is all ego talking. The ego's like just wanting to be right and wanting to be appreciated. When at the end of the day, the other person's not really thinking about you that way. They're probably thinking the same way. It's like, why did that person do that to me? And the answer is like, that's no way to live, right? Like we're not going to, get to level up if that's how we're approaching, our interactions, as opposed to, I'm going to take the exact same scenario and say, great, let's interact differently. I have a situation where I'm not getting along with somebody. I'm ruminating on it. And I realize, wow, I'm getting nothing out of that interaction. I actually am creating stress hormones in my body. It's not making me feel good. I don't want to feel that way, but I'm also like, want to approach this from a better light. And for me, it's like, well, great. How am I showing up in the present moment to actually create the outcomes I want? And I ask myself that question. And then I go so far as to say, like, what can I do in the present moment to not worry about this? Because it's not really fixing what I really want. And if all I have is the present moment, then I should be grateful for it. And then to even take it one step further, it's like, well, what's the gift that I'm being given right now? And the gift might be that, hey, you are too attached to being in control and you need to like let go. Or Darius, you are being too attached to wanting to be right, and that's not serving you. Because again, if all I have is the present moment and I'm worried about this thing that already happened or that's going to happen, then I'm not serving the present moment in my full capacity. I'm not saying, okay, how do I approach this better? And I used to have a saying. I used to say that humans are 1 inch away from the nose people, meaning that they don't pay attention until their nose hits the wall, right? But if all we have are these 10-second intervals, then it's like, okay, how can I be present? How can I approach life in a way where I'm coming from a position of gratitude, not from a position of winning or being right, and then enjoying the moments to make me a better person so that I can become more of who I want to be and not be deprived of my past, right? Because my past is part of what makes me where I'm at right now. And knowing that I can only level up in the future if I come at it from a position of curiosity and gratitude for those present 10-second moments. So, this is just something that by the way, I'm a C- student at all my learnings and teachings. I'm C- student. So, I'm a work in progress myself, but it's something that I've spent a lot of time really paying attention to. And it makes it where, I'm probably 25% better than I was a year ago. And which means that I can at least take a step back and see that, oh, I'm living in the future or living in the past right now. Like, maybe I won't do that for the moment. And if I can do that just one less time, then that's one more time that I'm living in the present moment. And let's just take it one step at a time, because if we can do that more and more and more, we'll start to have that compounding effect. And we're really building that muscle around, having an attention and intention around being present, and then expanding that so that we can do that more and more. So with that said, hope this helped you become more present in the moment, and peace out. Really appreciate you guys. Talk to you next time. See ya. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on, so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers. And after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one.
She's my lover.